like a whole scene on this. Listen, it goes, when Loki stole the Tesseract in Avengers Endgame and escaped from New York, not only did it complicate plans for the Avengers, but also his own glorious purpose. Picking up immediately where the record-breaking movie left off, Loki finds himself called before the Time Variance Authority, a Kafkaesque bureaucratic organization that exists outside of time and space, forced to answer for his crimes against the sacred timeline and given a choice: face deletion from reality as we know it, or assist them in catching an even greater threat. That's all bullshit. None of that's true.
A lot of that stuff. Well, yeah. Well, they said they weren't ever going to kiss, or there would be no romance.
They lie. They lie. Kevin Feige's the word. Like, he'll just lie.
You guys both need to point your cameras down a little bit because your head's like this far under the screen. Okay. There you go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Is it Feige? How do you
Feige, whatever. But anyway, he just he lies all the time to to further the story, And then the Russo brothers, they don't have anything to do with this, but they'll lie and they're like, you can't believe a word that comes out of our mouths. I mean, because they're like, when everybody was bitching about him that there was Nova wasn't in the movies, they're like, oh no, Nova was there at the end game. You didn't see him. And then they finally like called him. They're like, where is it? And they're like, we were lying. There's no Nova.
Well, Nova, there was supposed to be a Nova movie, and that never happened.
There might be now.
Well, then there were going to be a Nova. There was going to be a Nova Corps. Then it morphed into that, and then because it was going to be a tie-in to Guardians.
Well, they could totally do it now and then key off of the one person because, like in Annihilation, the Annihilation Wave destroys Xandar and takes out all of the Nova Corps except for the World Mind and Rich Rider. So they could totally do that. They just retcon. They just go back and go, because we never saw Thanos destroy Xandar to get the Power Stone. All we have to do is show that, and then the one guy gets away with the World Mind and he'll crash on Earth and give it to Richard Rider, aka was it Abzan Sur and Hal Jordan, because that's all the Nova Corps is a ripoff of the Green Lantern Corps.
Right. Well, are we ever going to see Adam Warlock? I think of, because I mean, he was referenced, and then.
But the thing is we don't know because they had all of the stuff they kept saying. So the next super big bad guy after, obviously, I guess Kang will be Annihilus or whatever, however you say that.
Saving all that for that.
And that's all saved for the Fantastic Four because that's all the Negative Zone, Annihilation, Marvel Cosmic. So they can build towards all of that. I mean, that could.
And they can have the Council of Reeds, which is where the Council of Ricks came from.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Does Fantastic Four have a date?
No, doesn't even have a date yet.
Okay.
They're still casting.
Okay.
I'm still hoping for the Office Jack guy and Emily Blunt.
Oh yeah.
Do you know Emily Blunt was supposed to be
Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, yeah.
I was like, what? And I like Emily Blunt. But I mean, I was just like, that's just odd.
She was cast and then she couldn't make it. So they went with Scarlett Johansson, who was their second choice.
Which was, I think, probably would have been better. It was the better choice.
We don't know. We'll see.
I just don't see Emily Blunt playing that role.
Yeah. Oh, BT Dubs, we got fooled. We got played by the lady nerd telling us that it was Owen Wilson's last day and they had like a party and everything. Totally made me believe he was dead.
Oh yeah.
Totally made me believe.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for her. Good for her.
She got us.
Well, and he was in the last couple.
Yeah, he's in the whole.
I mean, he's gonna be in the second season, obviously.
So do we want to go ahead and start?
We are. We just started.
Okay. Cool. All right.
Well, yeah. We'll just leave it where it's at. Yes. So, Chip, what did you think?
I thought it was really I thought it was good. I thought it was a little long. Thought it was a little talky. I needed a little bit more action. I didn't like the fact that she killed him. I thought they could have played around with that, but it doesn't really matter because now all his variants are going to come on, and that's going to be part of the next series. But I'm glad that they continued it. I was really hoping I was going to get another scene that would give me a little bit more information other than just season 2, but I'll take it. And it didn't end with Owen and Loki on a jet ski, but since we're getting to season 2, I'll let it slide.
Very good. Sarah, what did you think?
So I have there's things I liked about it and there's things that I didn't like about it. But first, I do want to say, I think I'm totally wrong. I think Kang is the mastermind behind this. I think that my little lady here is secretly working for him. Because if you remember, when they walked up to the gate, they walked through the door. She offered them like the devil's deals. Like she was playing like the you can be the best you can have everything you want if you just say yes and forget all about this. And then after they left her and walked in to He Who Remains where he was, he didn't acknowledge it. He didn't offer him a deal. He said, oh, this is just what it was meant to be. You have 2 choices. These are the 2 things that are going to happen. So I don't think he had any idea of what Miss Minutes was offering.
No, I totally disagree. Once they turned down that offer, then it went to the next thing. Like if they'd taken that offer, they never would have talked to Kang.
Because,
oh yeah,
because what if the he that she when she gave the records to Judge Renslayer, what if the he that asked her to do that was Kang and not He Who Remains?
He Who Remains and Kang, all of the you're mixing it up.
No,
it's one person.
It
was the guy that she killed.
Okay, they're variants of the same person.
Right, but there's only one. He was that one. Now that they've killed him and everything's splintering off, and it got to the point where he didn't know what was going to happen next. Now in the next season, we're going to have variants of him. And
so
then
you're saying that Kang with He Who Remains, they don't exist at the same time on a different multiverse. Like Kang is not in a different multiverse.
Well, when I say Kang, I mean the person, Jonathan whatever's character there. He was kind of, and even like you put up on Instagram, he was an amalgamation of He Who Remains, Immortus, and Kang.
Yeah.
That he was the one that was in charge, because he was the one, he told you the whole backstory. He was the one that won the war and fixed it all. And he goes, and if you kill me, then all of my variants and everything else are going to come back.
But come back is the part that I was focused on. So if it's come back, that means they did exist, and perhaps they still exist, but in a way that it's not messing with his ultimate timeline. But I don't know. See, I don't know.
I think you're overcomplicating.
I think it's a complicated thing.
I think they've proven throughout the show that it's not as complicated as we think it is.
Because when they came back, when they zapped Loki back and she put him through that portal and zapped him back, they didn't Mobius didn't know who he was. Hunter B-15 didn't know who he was.
The new timeline had already started. There was a new timeline that already started. So that other one had been erased. So the kind of 2 things that both of you touched on. Originally, when this was when they wrote it and were filming it, it was supposed to be a lot more of Miss Minutes, and she was trying to offer them up, and there was going to be more of argumentation between the 2 Lokis. Should we take this? Should we not? And they were going to go back and forth, and she was going to keep sweetening the deal. And then Loki wanted to take it because he could save his mom, save his dad, right, all those things. And then the very last cutscene was going to be Kang, but then they came back in and reshot it and cut everything down. So there was more fighting. But there was a lot more of Miss Minutes that was supposed to be in it.
And a lot more talking between the 2, Sylvie and Loki.
That's what we needed.
Not as much exposition from
like Kang or He Who Remains.
Oh, He Who Remains. They were going to reference.
See,
Whatever.
I know you keep going saying they're the same, but he explained clearly that they're variants, his other variants. So we
Just
have
like
to,
those-
I know, but we have to start calling them different. We can't say they're the same person. Essentially, they're the same entity in the
We're calling
variation.
Loki's all Loki's. It's the same. It's the same principle. And he was like, "If you kill me, I'll just be back."
Yeah.
Well, like
I mean-
Kid Loki, Boisterous Loki.
Yeah, I mean, they're all variants on. They're all.
Yeah.
Well,
and-
she okay, so we'll call him He Who Remains because that's what Miss Minutes actually called him in the
right.
thing. So
Because Kang is essentially a different character within the
Well,
thing. It gets confusing with all the
well,
variations.
okay, and then here you want me to throw a little bit more confusion in it. His real
Throw it
name
in.
is Nathaniel Richards,
Mhm.
and he is the descendant of Reed Richards' time traveling father, Nathan Richards.
Oh wow!
So he is so many generations, or we don't know how many generations, but he is a Richards, just like Reed Richards.
How did he
in the
turn
comic
blue?
No, that's just a mask. That's just his mask. In the comics he's white, so
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's a little bit more history of Kang. I mean, Kang is great because he's a time traveler, so they've done
Mhm.
all kinds of amazing things with him. Like there was a long arc where he was messing up all of time because he kept going to battle with Ultron and losing. So he would go back through time and just grab all these super strong people and go and attack him again and lose. And he kept doing it. And finally, the Avengers got sucked into it. They went to Ultron and said, "Can you just let him win this one time so that he'll stop doing this? Because he's literally destroying everything." And Ultron was like, "Yeah, that's fine." So he comes up on Ultron and he shoots him, and Ultron just explodes. And he's like, "Well, that was easy." And then he just goes on with his life, and everything goes back to normal. So he's it's great. He's a great character because, and even if you look at when they came out with the Young Avengers back in the early 2000s, I guess it was. It was after Avengers Disassembled. Iron Lad, who formed the Young Avengers, was actually a younger Kang who knew what he was going to become in the future, so he ran to the past to try to avoid it. And then Kang came and got him and said, "You have to do what you have to do." So, I mean,
it certainly opens up a lot of. There's a lot of ways they could go with it. I didn't like. He wasn't. I didn't think he was. I mean, for lack of a better thing, scary or intimidating. He was just more crazy.
Yeah, he's crazy, and I think it was intentional suicide, in my opinion.
well, he was. If he like, look how excited he was when he didn't know what was going to happen next. He's like, "Oh, I
Mhm.
don't know," and he was excited. And I mean, I guess if you know everything and you've lived that long, probably death, and you're going to come back. Be a nice end of things. To get stabbed through the heart by Sylvie.
I mean, they could have Ultron back in something. It opens up. I mean, it opens everything back up. I mean, you could basically have any character pop up, depending on how they're going to approach. This.
I mean, I think the episode was great because we got the answers we wanted, but then there was a ton more questions that we don't. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I after watching it, I kind of felt like, duh, like it wasn't like it was so intense. We got to do this. Da, 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 da. The timekeepers are fake. Oh crap. Who's next? It must be, this great super thing. And then they showed up. He's like, "Hey, how you doing? Eating an apple?"
I thought that was great. But I personally thought that was great.
Yeah,
and it definitely threw them off, and you could see how it was just befuddling their whole plan. But as like a viewer, like I was like, well, where's the big hurrah? And then and then it's
anticlimactic. It really was.
I like the point that he made though when they act like they're so innocent, and he's like, "You've both killed hundreds of people, if not thousands of people. Don't play the innocent."
Yeah.
which I thought was a good point. I mean,
We're
because
all
Sylvie
bad guys
always makes it sound like this poor little crybaby who, oh, they took everything away from me. But then you've killed hundreds of people trying to prove your point. Basically, your point is moot now. I mean, you're a killer just like the rest of us.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was anticlimactic the way they killed him. I'm glad she did because of the way they were building it up.
yeah.
But it kind of was like, oh, that's right, I got to stab you. It really didn't have like, a.
And he was like, cool, yeah, just do it.
Yeah, it was. I thought that could have gone more. I thought that could have been a little more climactic. He has to talk again in front of it. There was a lot of talking in this.
There was a lot of exposition. They answered a lot of the questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
But
is
I
better
mean-
than
I said I wasn't to be disturbed.
Well, you're not going to be happy to see me. He's back.
If anyone was ever going to make it back from the void, I suppose it was going to be you.
Oh, well, one man's void is another man's piece of cake.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was anticlimactic the way they killed him. I'm glad she did because of the way they were building it up.
yeah.
But it kind of was like, oh, that's right, I got to stab you. It really didn't have like, a.
And he was like, cool, yeah, just do it.
Yeah, it was. I thought that could have gone more. I thought that could have been a little more climactic. He has to talk again in front of it. There was a lot of talking in this.
There was a lot of exposition. They answered a lot of the questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is
But
I
better
mean-
than WandaVision.
Yeah.
They gave you a bunch of answers you didn't want. They're like, "God, that's terrible. No, that's not the answer I wanted."
You know that also written in originally was Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
So into WandaVision, and then they wound up, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was COVID or what the reason was, but they wound up taking him out. I know I still don't know after seeing Black Widow what the big reveal is there. I never got, there was all that talk that they had taken things out because they didn't want to reveal something. What? I mean, unless she was.
I would have thought that it might be interaction with the other Black Widows, and
yeah,
the Red Guardian and Milena and Yelena.
That that's the other Black Widows. I didn't think of that. That made
And
me.
remember, in the comics and somewhat probably in the MCU, there was a link with the Winter Soldier and the Black Widows because him and Natasha had a relationship while he was under the control of the Russian government. So
Was that Brubaker? Was that in the Ed Brubaker?
that was in the Brubaker stuff. Yeah.
Those were hugely influential
Oh yeah.
in the MCU. The tone and feel of them. That was partly why I got back into comics, was his Daredevil and his Captain America line.
So one thing I didn't like, I don't
one
like
thing?
how just the one. Well, it's with the first one I'll say right now.
Okay, fair enough.
So Loki is just basically a ball of goo. Okay,
He what?
so he's just a ball of mushy feelings.
Oh yeah.
That's all he
Yeah.
is. He's just this ball of gushy love eyes that are even like all the things and just not the Loki with the strength and the figuring things out, even if he does screw it all up. And then so I'm hoping we get a little bit more of it back because she smooches him, throws him in, I guess, a portal to somewhere.
He went back to
The TVA.
the TVA.
But which version of the TVA? Because now there's
Well, it is. But that's what it is. There's a new timeline. That's why they didn't recognize it. And if you look, there was it didn't have the 3.
Mhm.
It had just Kang. So when the shot behind where the 3 statues were before of the timekeepers, it was now Kang and just Kang.
I have to watch it again. I watched it on my phone at work and I haven't had a chance to watch it again. So
Yeah.
but I did watch a couple of the recaps. So that's where
Well,
I found out about the different storyline.
What was neat is when they were looking at the timeline and seeing all the variations, they're like, is that what he wanted? Is that what is supposed to happen?
Right.
Do you remember them saying that
Yeah.
as they were looking at it? And so in my mind, I go, well, when we first got into TVA, we walked Loki through and we saw all those other buildings that we never went in. All of those numbers and letters are still on there. And in my mind, and completely ignoring what you told me a minute ago, Chip, and you too, Scotty, about the different variants not existing before
Right.
the timeline splintered. Okay. So in my mind, I'm going, well, those letters and numbers still have significance. And I still believe that. So what if he didn't actually kill the other variations of himself when he destroyed the timeline? He put them in the TVA in their own thing, because basically he talked about being vain and that kind of thing. So it could be an act of vanity and power to trap them in there and then have the buildings numbered and people lettered and numbered, because it was a big place, right?
Right.
And
Yeah,
the assumption is there's
he could have
thousands.
turned his variants into agents or into employees or whatever. Yeah.
So I was just thinking that, and if with that mode of thinking, if Kang was in the TVA somewhere, and because Judge, I'm going to say her name,
Renslayer.
Renslayer, she knew that she was a high school teacher. How did she figure that out? She'd been apparently going there for years. She had the pens. How did she figure that out? We already know that she has a connection to Kang. She is his girlfriend. So what if
in the comics?
But what if Kang was actually there? He clued her in. Miss Minutes is actually a backstabber. I know I'm making it really complicated, but it would be so much more fun my way.
Yeah, but they're not going to make it that complicated.
Yeah,
then it just goes to where people will. Then you end up with Southland Tales.
Yeah.
Which is the guy who made Donnie Darko made a second movie called Southland Tales that is so convoluted that everybody watched it and went, this makes no sense. And he goes, oh, you have to read the 2 graphic novels I wrote beforehand. And if you read those, it's just even more confusing. So, and yeah, when you're dealing with time travel and multiverse, you can do all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it can get really complicated really quick, but we'll see.
We're gonna get What If.
And What If, like we were talking about earlier, those are all like he's basically introducing worlds that are splintered off of the timeline,
which we'll talk about in a different podcast.
Closer to when that comes out.
Yeah, but I'm afraid we're not gonna get to see her next season, because who knows if she's in the other timeline.
Right.
Oh, that's true.
We don't know if the other TVAs have a mismatch.
She may have a bigger role in the.
Mm-hmm. But in reality, if she was in her, I don't know, her consciousness, wherever her consciousness originated, if it was the main place where she's stored is that little capsule at the end of time where Sylvie is and where all those things happen, wouldn't she be safe from the variant timeline?
That's the thing. I was just thinking the TVA should not be affected by alternate timelines. The TVA is a constant at the end of time. So when he goes back and they don't know him because of the other TVAs.
When she kills him, it opens Pandora's box and all that's no longer true.
Okay.
Well, no, because I don't know. I wouldn't, the way they explained it, the timelines were splintering because he was not letting them do anything, right? So he was not having the TVA go in and stop them. And he said, you better hurry because all those time variations are happening, all the timelines splitting. So you could either fix it now and get back to the sacred timeline, or you can let it go. So him dying wasn't necessarily anything that had to happen. He pushed her into killing him, so that way he didn't have to see how it rolled out. Because I think he was just trying to commit suicide, because regardless of whether he lived, the timelines we're still splintering because he told them not to, or whatever.
And he said, if you do this, you'll have to deal with my variants. So
Yeah.
And the
But
whole
they're not
thing
all
was
right.
he telling the truth or was he lying? And they didn't. And then it winds up. Well, he was telling the truth.
Well, at least
That's what that was the point of. I don't think they nailed that landing that well, but I think that was what the point was. They were trying to build to, if you do that, because that was the thing. Is he believable? Should we believe him? And, is he just lying? Does he not know? And then when that happened, and he comes back and the timeline's changed and it's just him. I mean, I think that was the point of the ending.
right.
I don't think it was, like I said, I don't think they nailed that as hard as they could.
Yeah.
I do think that's what it was.
because in my mind, my first thought was when they pushed him and Loki shows up and they don't recognize him, I'm like, this could be a different building with even a different variants of Mobius and B15.
Right.
So maybe it's F15 and Flobius. I don't know. And maybe they're in a different building and they've got a different theme there, because he said that he did lots and lots of experiments to try to figure out who would be the best. So what if each building is basically a different experiment to try to figure out whatever? And so he has the different variations of the same people that were working there, and that's why the numbers and letters are significant. I don't know. I'm making it too complicated.
Well, and I think with the other things we know that it's outside of just the realm of the TVA.
Yeah.
Because if they're gonna, if they're leaning to that with Doctor Strange even having something to do with it.
Multiverse of madness.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's
And
gonna tie this into it, and it's supposed to directly tie WandaVision. Like WandaVision is supposed to be part of the reason of the multiverse of madness. So, but that movie doesn't come out till 2022.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing. Like with these, you're like, okay, you just showed me this. You're telling me there's a second season, and then you're telling me there's a movie, but the movie doesn't come out for over a year.
Yeah. And then
I'm
when
like-
is season 2 going to come out?
Yeah.
Does it have to come out after that? Like, is that
I'm an
going to
old
affect?
man. I can't wait
it?
that long. Anything
Yeah.
can happen.
Well, there's other things coming out between then, and it must have. I mean, they must have something to do with.
Right. Maybe, yeah. Well, I mean, I think the Eternals is going to be the start of the whole. So we're going to have two things going on in the Marvel universe. We're going to have the multiverse and all that kind of stuff, which is going to be like Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's all about the multiverse.
Mhm.
Doctor Strange, season 2 of Loki. But then you're also going to have, and I think that's going to give you more towards the cosmic aspect of stuff and go into that, because eventually we're going to get into Annihilation, Conquest, or something similar. And that's going to be I think that's going to start with the Eternals. And then it's going to be the Marvels. And then, we'll see where, and then the Fantastic Four is going to be part of that. And that's all going to be, phase 5, I guess, or, and then into phase 6. So, everything that's coming out right now is still phase 4.
And essentially, because of this, anything could happen. Like, they could pull back variations of other characters.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. And
This is really great for Disney in the cha-ching department.
Oh yeah. Oh, well, it's all about making the money. I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah.
And then when you get Ant-Man and the Wasp and the Quantumanium or whatever, and he's going to be, because he is the bad guy. He's already been cast as the bad guy, and he's shown as Kang. It says, in
2023 when that comes out.
Well, I wonder if we'll see him in the other stuff. We'll see variants of him where it's not the ominous big bad, but it's more like this was, where he'll just pop in and be in part of the story, but not be the big bad. That
because they've even shown
build to that
the quantum realm in the Ant-Man movies. They've shown it in both of the Ant-Man movies, and both of those you can see Chronopolis, his city. So that's different. That's probably going to be a different, same actor, but a different Kang than the person we saw in this at the end of Loki.
Oh, right.
Because Chronopolis is his city from the future that he separates from time.
And his city, and he kept pieces of who he conquered, just like she did in her office.
Right.
So could Chronopolis and the TVA's headquarters essentially be the same place?
No, from what I have read, they're saying that the Kang that's going to be in that movie is different. Same character, but a different splinter or variants than this. Because like the thing you put up on the Instagram, they said this isn't Kang. This is like like a mix of Kang and Immortus and He Who Remains. But it's Nathaniel Richards. It is, so the Kang and Ant-Man and the Wasp is supposed to be, the Kang, whatever.
Well, they've done that with a lot. There are amalgamations of you do that. They do that all the time in movies, where and you take, well, we need this. We're going to tie these things in.
Yeah, for the story.
When they're adapting books, and in essence, that's kind of what they're doing here. Because they're taking those backstories.
Well, I'll be mad if we don't see her. I know I've said that a couple times now.
She'll be
seriously. I've got the pins. Must happen.
She'll definitely be in it.
She's my favorite.
Well, and Mobius will be in it, and I'm sure they'll probably show up in one of the movies as well. In some, Kevin Feige, or however you say his last name, he has basically said that the characters from this will not only will the storyline have an effect over the whole MCU, but that the characters will almost drop in. They'll be parts. He didn't say how much, but they'll be part of other things that are coming out, in particular the movies.
Well, she gave me like hardcore Chucky vibes when she was trying to tempt them away. She was like, well, and she's like, her eyes were going. I was like, she's going to murder you. Little Miss Minutes, little sweet Miss Minutes. She's going to put you in a bag and just dump you in the garbage.
It'd be interesting to see if they have any of that they got cut, to see exactly what all, because they were trying to make it, about the temptation. And that was what that last one was going to be about.
I would like to see if they're going to do are they going to do extra features or outtakes or anything like that? And where would you see it? Because from what I understand, there's this whole thing going on right now with who's releasing what on DVD. And Marvel has said, and Disney has said, the only place you're going to see The Mandalorian or any of the MCU TV shows is on Disney Plus. You're not going to find a DVD of it at, Best Buy.
They're trying to get you to subscribe, not to wait.
Right, but Apple TV doesn't necessarily own those shows wholly. They own them for streaming, so they're not going to show up on Netflix, but they're showing up at Best Buy in DVD box sets.
Yeah.
So C and was it the one about space, stuff like that. So, and then there's the thing Titans, which was part of the DC thing, that came out on DVD, but then they're saying that they're not going to release one of the other ones, but those are all kind of crap.
They're actually showing the third season of Titans is about to come out. They're actually showing the old.
What's that?
They're showing the old seasons on TNT right now, or at least.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it comes every Sunday.
Yeah, because that's owned by Warner Brothers, which is HBO Max, which is DC. So it's all the big one, same company.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
That's a Premier pin.
It's very heavy.
Chips about pins.
Yep, adding it to cart as we speak. Oh, and I gotta order, and I also have to order a new Cowboy Bebop sticker for my new car. So that's
nice.
That I'm on here.
I'm just gonna put it right in the middle.
Nice.
So I went and bought a new car today.
It's heavy.